1. In a PSTAR training session, which instructional approach best helps student pilots internalize air regulation responsibilities before their first solo flight? A. Delivering a single lecture outlining regulations. B. Using scenario-based activities that mirror actual cockpit decisions. C. Providing a list of regulations to memorize. D. Showing a video without learner interaction. 2. When evaluating a student's readiness for PSTAR testing, which method most effectively measures application-level understanding of navigation restrictions? A. Asking the student to define each regulation. B. Using simulations requiring real-time regulation decisions. C. Reviewing vocabulary terms related to air law. D. Giving only short answer knowledge checks. 3. A mentor pilot guiding a learner through PSTAR topics should prioritize which communication technique? A. Giving rapid-fire corrections without feedback. B. Providing structured two-way dialogue about decision-making. C. Allowing the student to discover errors without guidance. Speaking in technical jargon to demonstrate expertise. 4. When designing a PSTAR curriculum module on controlled airspace entry, which principle ensures adult learning alignment? A. Presenting only textbook excerpts. B. Connecting airspace rules to real flying needs and consequences. C. Asking students unrelated personal preference questions. D. Using only historical aviation anecdotes. 5. Which feedback method best supports regulatory compliance learning in a PSTAR class? A. Delayed feedback provided weeks later. B. Immediate feedback linked to the specific regulation involved. C. Feedback focusing only on praise. D. Generic feedback with no reference to the exercise. 6. During a PSTAR exam review, which technique ensures learners understand circuit procedures? A. Memorizing runway numbers. B. Applying circuit rules to a series of flight path scenarios. C. Reciting definitions of circuit components. D. Watching a video without assessment. 7. A student misinterprets altitude restrictions in a practice PSTAR question. The mentor should first A. Repeat the correct altitude without explanation. B. Ask guiding questions to reveal the student's reasoning. C. Tell the student to reread the textbook entirely. D. Move on without addressing the issue. 8. To strengthen retention of PSTAR air law content, which curriculum feature is most effective? A. One-time lectures. B. Distributed practice through space scenario sessions. C. Assigning long essays. D. Random fact drills. 9. What is the most valid assessment technique for PSTAR circuit right-of-way rules? A. Matching terms with definitions. B. Multiple scenarios requiring prioritization decisions. C. True-false statements. D. Listing all rules from memory. 10. When teaching radio communication procedures for PSTAR, which method best promotes mastery? A. Silent reading of communication protocols. B. Role-playing live callouts in simulated tower interactions. C. Memorizing frequencies only. D. Watching others perform radio calls without participation. 11. In PSTAR training, what promotes self-directed learning regarding flight visibility requirements? A. Providing curated cases for students to analyze independently. B. Requiring only instructor-led explanation. Asking learners to copy text verbatim. Limiting students to a fixed checklist without context. 12. To ensure clear understanding of emergency procedures in PSTAR preparation, instructors should A. Test-only definition recall. B. Engage learners in decision-making drills under time pressure. C. Provide only written notes. Eliminate discussions to save time. 13. A PSTAR instructor wants to reduce cognitive overload. Which strategy helps? A. Presenting all regulations at once. Organizing content in small, thematically grouped segments. C. Asking students to read entire manuals in one sitting. D. Removing practice activities. 14. Which method best evaluates a learner's comprehension of VFR weather minimums? A. Asking for memorized numerical values only. B. Applying the values in varied simulated flight conditions. C. Word-by-word recitation of the regulation. D. Drawing weather symbols. 15. A student struggles with air traffic control clearance concepts. Which mentoring technique works best? A. Repeating the clearance phraseology without context. B. Using guided practice with immediate instructor feedback. C. Telling the student to use internet tutorials. D. Skipping the topic until test day. 16. In PSTAR curriculum planning, which approach best promotes transfer of knowledge to real flying? A. Teaching regulations in isolation. B. Integrating rules into flight-based decision tasks. C. Using only quizzes with no scenario content. D. Avoiding complex examples. 17. When evaluating student performance, which PSTAR assessment aligns with adult learning principles? A. Allowing students to choose a relevant flight scenario to apply regulations. B. Giving a mandatory standardized essay. Timing students on how fast they recite rules. Using only instructor-selected trivia questions. 18. To improve communication clarity in PSTAR mentoring sessions, the mentor should A. Use concise, plain language tied to operational behavior. B. Use long scripted speeches. C. Interrupt the learner frequently. D. Avoid explaining rationale behind rules. 19. Which method enhances decision-making skills for PSTAR airspace classification? A. Memorizing each class by alphabetical order. B. Choosing appropriate actions in airspace classification case studies. C. Reading a long list of airspace definitions. D. Watching a documentary on air navigation history. 20. A PSTAR instructor designing formative checks should include A. One comprehensive test at the end only. B. Frequent, low-stakes scenario checks to monitor progress. C. Only oral questioning. D. Unannounced exams with no review. 21. When coaching a learner who misapplied circuit joining procedures, the mentor should A. Replace the learner's reasoning with the instructor's steps only. B. Explore the decision-making process that led to the error. C. Tell the learner to memorize diagrams. D. Ignore the mistake if the learner appears confident. 22. Which practice enhances regulation retention during PSTAR prep? A. Problem-based learning tied to local aerodrome examples. B. Reading regulations aloud repeatedly. C. Studying unrelated theory topics. D. Solving only numeric calculations. 23. When addressing human factors content in PSTAR, which instructional strategy is most effective? A. Exploring case studies illustrating poor judgment. B. Providing lists of human factor terms. C. Allowing students to choose whether to participate. D. Using only instructor lectures. 24. When ensuring compliance understanding for NOTAM usage, which assessment tool fits best? A. Static definition questions. B. Timed decision-making using actual NOTAM-style samples. C. Questions about aviation history. D. Multiple-choice questions with identical distractors. 25. A PSTAR course module on flight restrictions near airports should include A. Practice interpreting aerodrome charts in applied scenarios. B. Only terminology memorization. C. Instructor monologue sessions. D. Sample questions unrelated to flight operations. 26. To improve learner engagement in PSTAR radio procedures, instructors should A. Provide hands-on communication simulations. B. Prohibit collaborative practice. C. Require memorization without application. D. Use only audio recordings. 27. A PSTAR evaluator checking pattern altitude knowledge should A. Ask students to explain altitude values in a variety of circuit contexts. B. Ask for a single memorized number. C. Remove scenario variability. D. Ignore altitude concepts. 28. Which activity effectively mentors judgment around fuel reserve regulations? A. Worksheets listing fuel types. B. Scenario planning activities requiring fuel calculations. C. Watching unrelated cockpit videos. D. Simple fill-in-the-blank questions. 29. In PSTAR instruction, the best way to teach wake turbulence avoidance rules is A. Using real flight path simulations for departure and landing sequencing. B. Reading rule text without examples. C. Memorizing aircraft category names only. D. Guessing proper spacing intervals. 30. When teaching right-of-way rules, which evaluation method is best? A. Ranking aircraft situations based on correct rule application. B. Word matching. Copying textbook text. D. Listening without responding. 31. To promote accountability in PSTAR study groups, mentors should A. Assign shared scenario tasks requiring group decision-making. B. Allow no interaction. Require memorization silently. D. Remove participation roles. 32. A strong PSTAR curriculum includes which skill-building piece? A. Mixed format scenarios, integrating regulations, communication, and situational awareness. B. Purely written quizzes only. C. Long lectures without breaks. D. Eliminating practical activities. 33. When reviewing flight visibility and distance from cloud requirements, the best reinforcement method is A. Using comparison scenarios in varied altitudes and airspace types. Memorizing values without context. C. Reading the regulation once. D. Showing a poster only. 34. In PSTAR mentoring, which communication practice supports learner confidence? A. Encouraging questions and validating reasoning steps. B. Dismissing questions. C. Using intimidating language. D. Limiting student talk time.